Now, last week, there was a huge furor when you had the RSS Sanchalak or the chief of the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, Mohan Bhagwat, at the release of a book, at the release function of a book, talking about a One India DNA. That the DNA of all Indians is the same, and it's only politics because of which fractures are created in society. In fact, the things that he said quickly became the issue of a massive political debate across the country, even as it was welcomed by right-thinking individuals as an effort to try and bridge the divide that has been first created and then widened over the years ever since the country was partitioned. Others looked at it only as hypocrisy. What's important though is that these comments were made when he was releasing Dr. Khwaja Iftikhar Ahmad's book, The Meeting of Minds, a Bridging Initiative. And which is why we want to dig deeper on what is this initiative, the Bridging Initiative that the book talks about, and which is why joining me now on the News Hour agenda is Dr. Khwaja Iftikhar Ahmad. Thank you very much, sir, for speaking to us. First of all, were you taken aback when Mohan Bhagwat, when he spoke about how Muslims should not get into a circle of fear and ultimately we're all the same, we're all Indians? Were you taken aback?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Simply because, you see, there is a constitution in the country. And the governance of the country is based on the constitution and the provisions of the constitution. We are a country which is governed by a set of institutions. We have got bureaucracy, we have got judiciary, we have got civil liberties organizations, we have got Human Rights Commission, Minorities Commission, Backwards Commission, SC/STs Commission, and so on and so forth. So there is no need for any kind of fear. If any section of the society is having any kind of fear, certain incidents sometimes happen which may create a psyche wherein the people or that particular section may start feeling or having a feel of fear. Well, that can be an exceptional situation. But by and large in India, all communities and all sections of society, I don't see any reason for any kind of fear.
You don't think there is any reason of fear? Because the one thing that is quoted the most, and in fact something that Mr. Bhagwat also referred to, was that when people lynch... Yes, please go on.
Well, lynching is a different issue. Lynching is a different issue. Lynching is very unfortunate. Lynching is a crime which is committed by anti-social elements, and where a particular community has been targeted, and because of that lynching, and certain people who have been indulging in all this, they have been treated as heroes by some sections of the society, by the fringe elements. Well, that is a point of concern for everybody, and in that context, if there is a fear building up in the minority community, particularly among the Muslims and Dalits who have been the victims of this kind of lynching, well, to that extent, fear, yes.
How does one address that fear? To bridge, because your book talks about bridging. How does one address that fear?
Yes. You see, in my book, the thrust of the book and the focus of the book, I have a chapter by the title The Middle Ground. In this particular chapter, I have picked up all these sensitive issues which are time and again raised, whether by the Sangh Parivar particularly, and the Muslim community and the Sangh, they are having conflicts, they are having differences, they are having points of friction, they are having points of contention, and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, neither the Sangh Parivar nor the Muslim community have ever engaged substantially and seriously to the extent whereby there can be a proper dialogue, because ultimately any differences have to be resolved through dialogue and within the constitutional ambit. that has not happened. Off and on things are happening, but the amount of the amount of efforts which are required and the sustainability which is the need of the dialogue to have it a continuing activity, that is something missing. So in this particular chapter, I am picking up all the issues one by one, and I am trying to find out, I am trying to put rather before the Sangh and before the community that look, here is the middle ground. And let me give you 2-3 examples of that. For example, you see, no, you have these days a controversy on 26 verses of Holy Quran. I have picked up this point. We have issues on why are Muslims offering prayers towards Kaaba, which is in Makkah. Why is it so? Why are the Muslims keeping Arabic or Persian names? Why are Muslims have more leanings towards Islam and towards the Muslims of the world? What is the relationship of Indian Muslims with Pakistan? And all these kind of issues. And I have answered all these issues. Now, for example, if I come to the issue of names, why Muslims are keeping Arabic names, my contention is that let us try to understand a Hindu or a Christian of India, or for that matter from any other place or country. You know, a Christian is going to keep a Christian name whether he's in a Christian country or in any other country. The Hindu brothers and sisters who are the permanent citizens of America, of UK, of Canada, of Australia, what are the names they are keeping? So where is the issue? It is a non-issue. Likewise, as far as the Kaaba is concerned,
who is objecting to keeping Muslim names?
The Medina part is concerned.
In India, how is that an issue?
You know, this is an issue. This is an issue. This is an issue which is being raised time and again by the fringe elements. I am not saying Hindus are raising it. I am talking about
the fringe elements actually, or not just the fringe elements. When people have raised the issue, they would have raised the issue of, say, naming a road after Mughal invaders, or people who've been tyrants, or saying that we should not have an Aurangzeb road in India. There is never about the common Indian citizen, irrespective of religion, what name he or she identifies with. It's only against invaders and their names being glorified in India. Okay. Coming to the issue of roads named after Mughal emperors, well, this was done by the government of India. Now, and when the controversy was built up around Aurangzeb and changing Aurangzeb road's name to Dr. Abdul Kalam's name, I think those people, those sections of the society who opposed it, well, it should not have been opposed at all, because the contribution of Dr. Abdul Kalam in our country, in our nation building, in our atomic and research program, in our space program, I think it deserved more. Rather than we try to stand by Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb was an invader for us. So invaders cannot be compared with, cannot be equated with those who are nationalists and who have made tremendous contribution for the development of the country. So where is the comparison between Dr. Abdul Kalam and Aurangzeb? So anybody who is supporting, whether he is a Muslim or anybody else, anybody supporting Aurangzeb has no basis, has no logic, and has no rationale behind it. I opposed it then, I am opposing it now. Even all right, I think that's the most unequivocal statement on that. But I want to ask you about the one DNA that Sri Mohan Bhagwat spoke about. Do you agree with that? That everyone has the same DNA?
As far I'll offer you two answers to this question. According to the Islamic viewpoint, I will give you that, and then I'll give you my Indian viewpoint also. According to the Islamic viewpoint, all of us, the entire humanity, is the children of Adam and Eve. So that makes one DNA for the whole humanity. That's one point. Now coming to the statement which Mohan Bhagwat ji, the Sanchalak ji have given, to that extent I would say in India, 99% Muslims are originally from this particular land. For them it is the land of origin, except a certain section whose ancestors came from different other countries, from different other nations, or from different other regions. Well, barring those exceptions, even they, when they have accepted India as their homeland, as the citizen of India, and they are all as loyal to the country as anybody else in the country. So if Mohan Bhagwat ji says that the DNA of all the Indians is one and the same, I would like to welcome that statement. And this particular statement resolves so many controversies around which are taking place in the name of NRC.
As a follow-up to that, I want to ask you, the more controversial part, however, is when the RSS says that by virtue of having the same DNA and by virtue of having grown from this land, the Indus, the land of the Indus, we are all Hindus. Even Muslims are essentially Hindus.
Okay.
Do you agree with that logic?
No, you see, in geographical sense, in territorial sense, to that extent, even Sir Syed accepted the Hindu term. But I have taken up this particular issue in my book at length, and I have said it there that as long as Hindu continues to be the religious identity of the majority community, how can a Christian, how can a Jain, how can a Parsi, and how can a Muslim can accept Hindu? That everybody living in India is Hindu. And to that extent, Mohan Bhagwat ji said there that we consider everybody living in India as Hindu, but you can call yourself Bharatiya. So the moment he says that I can call myself Bharatiya, and it is not compulsory for me, it is not mandatory for me to call myself a Hindu, well then in that case, to that extent, the issue gets resolved.
All right. I think that's the best note to end on. Dr. Khwaja Iftikhar Ahmed, thank you very much for having spoken to us, because I think at this point in a society where there are so many fractures, if there's one thing that we should do at every opportunity is look for an occasion for a meeting of minds. And for lending us your wisdom and your mind for a few minutes, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Ahmed. Thanks very much, viewers, for having tuned in. I will see you soon.